Hello, everyone. My name is Priya Kadati, Director of Solutions Management at MicroStrategy. I've been with the company since 2008, and it's a pleasure to serve as a moderator for this session. I'm pleased to introduce today two speakers from our product team, extremely talented. Please welcome Antoine Issaly, Worldwide OEM Solutions Architect, and Harry Du, who is our Senior Architect Developer Relationships. Harry and Antoine, please tell our audience a little bit about yourself and kickstart today's presentation. Over to you guys.
Thank you, Priya. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Welcome to Embedding SDK Playground session. My name is Harry Du. I'm a Senior Architect in the Developer Relations team. Our team's mission is to make our API and SDK more accessible to our developer community. We are committed to empower our developers with new capabilities in API and SDK. We are also committed to provide tools and examples to boost your productivity. Antoine?
Hi, everyone. This is Antoine Issaly. I've been with MicroStrategy for about 5 years, and I'm looking after our OEM business. What we mean by OEM is that we're helping software companies to take our analytics technology and add it as a capability to their own application to drive new revenue or differentiate themselves from the competition. But it's also to help more traditional companies such as retailers, insurance, to make a new revenue stream out of all the valuable data that they've collected through the years that they may want to make available through third parties like suppliers through online portals. I'm so looking forward to have Harry walk us through the Embedding SDK Playground. And I'll start by giving you a very quick intro around embedding. But first, Harry, walk us through the agenda.
Thank you, Antoine. In today's session, we're going to show you our latest developer tool called Embedding SDK Playground. Embedding SDK Playground is just one of the developer playground we are working on. There are more coming in 2022. We're going to show you how easy it is to build embedded analytics solutions using the playground. I'm going to invite Antoine to give you an overview of embedding analytics first. Antoine?
Thank you, Harry. All right. So let's tackle two important questions. What is embedded analytics and why is it important? So when you're thinking about your analytics content, I'm sure you build a fantastic platform, but the odds that your employees or your users are taking the time to head to your analytics platform every single time they have to make a decision is fairly low. So what we're suggesting here is that instead of assuming that they're going to be proactive and go and get this information themselves, we want to bring the information, the embedded analytics directly to them by infusing visualizations directly into their day-to-day workflows. So it can be your main core application if you build software, or it can be, all the applications that you offer to your employees, like your ERP, for example, or your CRM that your employees are using on a day-to-day basis. They might make much more informed decision when they'll have the actual information popping up right where they're supposed to make a decision. So main idea here is to increase the adoption of your analytics investment in order to make sure that everyone is making much more informed decisions. And something that will be extremely important for our customers who are building software, it's really unlocking a lot of new revenue opportunity. So, think about it in a couple of different ways. You may have a lot of untapped revenue from all those users who don't even know that you already have an analytics module as part of your offer. And if they knew that they were there, they would probably need it and probably need an additional license to get these insights. But there are also all those customers who will simply look at a competitor solution because it's just providing them with the insights they need when they need it. So it can be a very strong differentiator in the market to make sure that you're not losing any revenue opportunity. Now, as we said, for and companies who have been in retail, who have been in insurance, who have been in banking, there's also a lot of value in the data you own. And so there are a lot of smart mechanisms right now to completely anonymize the content you own and provide it, often for a fee, to third parties like marketing firms looking to do research, or people who may want to benchmark themselves against their competition, thanks to all the data that you own and that you can decide to make available to third parties, thanks to embedded analytics. There are plenty of sessions as part of the embedded analytics track. There's also plenty about embedded in the OEM track tomorrow. There's obviously way too much for anyone to attend in 2 days. Luckily, all the sessions are recorded and are going to be available on demand. So I invite you, whenever you see a topic that may be of interest for you, if you can't attend the session today and tomorrow, to tune in to our company website in a couple of days to access all this content on demand. And on that note, I'll be handing it over to Harry.
Thank you, Antoine. MicroStrategy offers so many ways for you to embed analytics into your business applications. I'm going to divide this into 3 types of embedding. The first type is detached. Your analytics is not on the same page as your application. You use web links to connect them. You can use MicroStrategy URL API to link your dossier, passing contextual information. It is easy to implement, but it doesn't provide the best engaging experience because your user need to navigate to a different page to use analytics. It is also very hard to pass in contextual information back to your website. The second type of embedding is to use data as a service. MicroStrategy offers very powerful REST API for you to build your own visualization interface and workflows. You build your interface yourself, you need to write a lot of code. It is very hard to build it with good performance. It can be very expensive to build too. The third way is to embed. You embed the interface coming from professional vendors like MicroStrategy into your application's interface. So your user does not need to leave your application to access analytics. You don't need to build that yourself. MicroStrategy offers hyperintelligence and embedding SDK are in this category. And hyperintelligence, you probably already attend a session this afternoon. Hyperintelligence is a code-free solution. You can get a zero-click inline analytics on any website without writing a single line of code. You can also use hyperintelligence on Microsoft Outlook on your smartphones too. You can also customize your own website with Hyper SDK so that your user does not need to install anything to get intelligence. Embedding SDK is the low-code solution. You can embed a MicroStrategy dossier and visualizations seamlessly into your own website with just a few lines of code. The analytics functionality is infused with your application. We believe embedding provides the best value for your investment. What is MicroStrategy Embedding SDK? First, Embedding SDK is a JavaScript library. It has no dependency on your client-side JavaScript framework. You can use it together with any client-side JavaScript framework, such as React and Angular or other platforms. You can use it directly in your HTML web page, just like a plain JavaScript. It is very light, only 200 KBs. It is built with modern JavaScript technology. You can use it in your web application. You can also use it in your desktop application or mobile applications as long as they are built with web technology. For example, if you build your desktop, use Electron, you can use Embedding SDK too. It allows you to embed MicroStrategy, dossier, and the visualizations easily into your web interface. You build your dossier and visualizations, use MicroStrategy's library, workstation, or MicroStrategy web without a single line of code. Then you embed it, use Embedding SDK using a few lines of code. You probably have been using iFrame to embed a MicroStrategy web into your custom website. How is Embedding SDK different from the traditional iFrame solution? In my view, Embedding SDK offers two key values. First, it creates the content and insert content into your website seamlessly, automatically for you. You don't need to know how to build the code. You just need to call a JavaScript function with a few lines of configuration JSON. SDK will build the content for you, and the Embedding SDK will make sure the content is responsive. Secondly, it facilitates interaction between the hosting page and the embedded content. So the interaction is two-way. This is something you won't get with the simple iFrame approach. Embedding SDK does all the heavy lifting for you. For example, from your hosting page, you can call a JavaScript function to trigger a dossier content to change, such as page navigation or open panel stack, or make selection. You call the JavaScript function. You can call JavaScript function to get information about the dossier so that you can render controls in your hosting page. So you can get a dossier structure, building a page navigation, or you can get a filter definition, building the filters outside the embedded content. Another direction is you can get an event whenever something changed in your embedded content. So you can get a callback about a page change, about the selection. So you can build your interaction. You can trigger content change correspondingly in your hosting application. So next, Antoine is going to challenge me to build some live demos.
All right, this is going to be a hell of a challenge. All right, Harry, will you pass me the screen sharing capability? All right, I'll be able to show my screen in 3, 2, 1. You should now be able to see my fantastic application that I built. So this app is an app tailored to a specific niche kind of ride sharing, couriers in New York City moving goods from point A to point B. What we're looking at right now is, the part of my app that is designed toward drivers, so that whenever they're ready to pick up a shift, for example, they can get in and make sure that they're making the most data-driven decision, right? The reason why they might want to do that is that they're financial incentive on working on specific routes that are in high demand. So this is the workflow that they have available today on desktop, but on mobile as well. So once they get on the platform, they have the ability to go and check out the bonus routes. So they have a nice little button that takes them to my analytics content. Once the dossier is actually loaded on the screen, they can then identify what particular zone of New York City they might be interested in working in that specific day in order to make the most out of the hours they're putting in a job. So it looks like today it might be worth working around Port Authority to make the most out of the hours you're putting in the day. So once you know that, then you can start working. My question here, Harry, is could you help me make this workflow a tiny bit more intuitive? The main reason being that a lot of the drivers just had no idea that this dashboard existed, because even though it's clearly laid out right here, they never took the time to click on the button and see what's on the other end, right? So what I'm thinking is that because this image right here is not bringing much value, I'd love to dedicate this specific part of my screen to directly infuse the analytics that we had on the previous screen, instead of asking every user to jump elsewhere to get the information. Is that something you can help me with?
Absolutely. Thank you, Antoine. Looks like you want to convert your detached embedded solution to embedded. So let me share my screen. So I got your website and loaded the website before the meeting. So this is running on my local server. And this is your same website, same code. And I also got your dossier. This is a dossier we're going to use. So I'm going to copy this link. Okay, I'm going to use this. What I'm going to show you is how easy it is to use Embedding SDK Playground to do this. So I'm going to open the Playground. So this is the Playground. If you don't know, you can go to playground.microstrategy.com. Very easy to remember, playground.microstrategy.com, or it will redirect to this URL, microstrategy.github.io/playground. We are hosting this on GitHub. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to click the Start Over button. So if you click Start Over button, you see we have two tabs. One is examples. We have lots of building examples. I'm going to show those examples later. And first, I'm going to copy this URL here. So, and click Continue button. What this will do it will create a code for you. It will create a code with this dossier embedded and run it. Let's see. So after I click the button, you'll see this code editor is updated and your dossier is running. Before we move on, and I would like to give you a brief overview of the interface. So this is the Embedding SDK Playground. The main interface is divided into four main areas. On the left is operations menu. So you can navigate, you can search, or you can, if you find the option you want, you can mouse over to the info icon to see the description, or to have a link, directly link to the documentation site. And also you can click the button to add this. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to click this button. So it will add code automatically for me. So what this code does is it will just call the SDK to get a table of content and dump the information into console. You can also drag and drop. I can also use Ctrl+Z to remove this code, and I can also drag this code into this code block here. It does the same thing. The middle part is the code editor. It has you can edit code directly. You can run the code. When you run the code is running in the previous panel. You can copy the code. You can clean the code. You can use Ctrl+Z to bring this back. Or you can format code. If you ever messed up, you can do format. The bottom part is the previous panel. Whatever you run, whatever code you run here, it will show up here. So to show you this is not fake, I'm going to actually add some edge tag here. So I'm going to run this. You see, this shows up. This is actual code is running in this preview panel. So I'm going to delete this. Okay. Before, when I show the operations menu, you see I added some code here.
So that means the bottom right is not just MicroStrategy. It's an entire web application or web page that is being rendered, right?
Exactly. So it's the complete code of this running in the previous panel. So saving you a lot of time to go to a different page to see what's the actual result. So before I show this, I drag some code here. So this will show the get table content and will dump this information into the console. So on the right, you see this is a log view. We provide two kinds of logs. One is the console log. So whatever you write to the console here, it will show up here. You see get table of content here. It shows the table of content. It has two chapters and with some pages here. So whatever you write in the code editor, it will show up in the console. It's very convenient. You don't need to go to the Chrome developer tool to figure out the information. So you can see the information right in the editor, in the playground. Another tab is the events log. So you can see whenever you do something, you'll see some event here. So this is very handy if you want to write some event handler, you want to figure out what information you can use, right? What event you will get, what information you can use. It's very handy. So let me try to do some page navigation here. So if I navigate to the previous page, you see this is updated, right? You get a on-page switch event and with some information. This is the page key. You also get an on-page load event because this page was not loaded before it, right? So you also get some information about the visualization element change. So I'm going to navigate to, if I click this back, you'll see the load event will not happen again. So if I navigate back to the previous page, you see you only get a page switch event. So this is very handy. So now, without writing any single lines code, you have this embedded and you have the code generated. Is this something you want, Antoine?
Yes, but now that I'm looking at it, I'm thinking that there might be some ways to kind of customize the experience I'm going to offer to my end users. So, for example, there are no drivers that could potentially use the collaboration capability. So is there a way I could remove the icon, for example?
Yeah, of course. Yeah. So if you want to remove the collaboration icon, so you can find navigation bar. So let me give you a brief overview of the structure of the code. So in the code, in the line number 5 to number 8, this is the script tag to include the embedding SDK. So the embedding SDK is from the demo environment. On line number 12, that's the div tag. It's a placeholder for embedding content. This ID is also used in the embedding SDK JavaScript code, same ID. On line number 19 to line number, let me make this bigger. So we intentionally, in this template, we intentionally add all the possible configurations. So you can see all the configurations without looking up the documentation. So if the configuration is the same as default, we actually don't need that. We can actually remove that. So later I will clean this up. And after this, you'll see we have a code to create a dossier. So we call MicroStrategy.dossier.create, passing this configuration. So this will create a dossier object. And later you can use this dossier object to call functions. So actually I don't need this anymore, so I can delete this. So that's a basic code structure. So for your requirement, you want to remove something. Let me, format this a little bit. So you want to remove the collaboration, right? So you can either turn this off or just change the button here. So it's a comment button here. I'm going to change this to false and run it. I'm going to bring this back here. So you see the comment button is gone. If you want to remove the go to library, right, we can change this to false too.
All right, got it. All right, really cool. But you know what? Since you mentioned the table of content beforehand, it might be worth actually to anchor it in my experience. So I won't have to teach anyone, how to navigate. They'll just have an anchored table of content. Is that something we can add?
Yeah, absolutely. So we support you to dock this table of content on the left or on the right. So let me show you. So you can find the let me find the section. So table of content section, doc, TOC section. So here, I'm going to change this to can close to false. So it will always show, and also is doc to true. I'll keep this on the left, and so I will run this. You'll see the table of content always shows.
Great. So you know what? Looking at the embedded experience right now, this just won't fit in the space that I originally wanted to dedicate to embedded analytics. So, you know what? We might want to remove this table of content, and we might want to remove a bit more than that. Can you remove the entire navigation bar, for example?
Yeah. To remove navigation bar, actually, it's very easy. You just need to change this, right? Enable to false. So as a matter of fact, we don't need this rest section, right? I can remove all this because we are not showing navigation bar. So I can remove all this and navigation bar is gone, right? And also I can remove the table of content if you want more space.
Yep.
So
I'm making you do some extra work.
So we can remove all the table of contents. So by default, we don't show this. So actually, I can just remove this whole section. Now, only in the dossier. Is this something you want?
Yes, but I'm thinking about pushing it one level further. The one visualization that matters the most for my drivers is the one on the bottom right part, the most profitable routes. Is there a way I could embed just this visualization and not the entire dossier, so I can make the most of my screen space and it stays readable?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do support embedding single visualizations. So in order to do that, we need to figure out what is the key, what is the visualization key for this. So I'm going to show you how easy it is to figure out that information without looking up the REST API or without go to the library to figure out. So let me find, you can search visual. So there's a one block called get current page visualization. So I'm going to click a button to add this. So it will automatically add it into the code block after the dossier is created. So what this does is it will call the dossier object, get current page visualization, and dump this information into the console. So I'm using this just as a tool to debug. So I'm going to run this, use the shortcut key, and after it's finished running, you'll see something in the console log. Right? You see this get current page visualization list, and from the list, there are 8 visualizations on this dossier. So I'm going to open this. Luckily, the first one is the one you want. I'm going to copy this ID. Next, I'm going to do is, you see on the left, there's a one called embed single visualization, right? So this time I'm going to drag, since this is the configuration we need to apply before we create a visualization, I'm going to drag this into this area. So before we create this dossier, so I'm going to drag this here. So
and
you see,
Harry, am I right to think that if you don't know where you should be dropping it, just by clicking on this plus option that you have, it should show up in the right place?
Yes. So the reason we know it, we have some comment. So don't delete this comment. So we know this because we know we're searching for this comment to figure out where to insert. So there are 3 sections, right? If you want to change some configuration before this dossier created, you need to add this before this is called. So you can add this. If you drag, you can add this after or after the comment, it doesn't matter. And if your code depend on the dossier object, you add it after this dossier is created. So you can, if you use the button, we will automatically add this into the right place. So now we add this, right? We add this configuration. So it will override the configuration section for the visualization appearance. So I'm going to paste this ID. So we are going to see this in maximum size and also this to be false. I'm going to run this to see what happens. Now, only in one visualization. So it looks like it's too big. Is this what you want?
Yeah, that's exactly what I want. And that's gonna stay responsive no matter where you put it. So how do you take it one step further and, without having coded this, how do you take the code that MicroStrategy ended up generating and inject it into the actual app?
So I want to show you. Yeah. So I want to do 2 more things. You see this button, right? You probably don't want this, right?
Sure.
This is the context menu to show the data and let people to export data. You probably don't want this, right?
Yep. Let's get rid of it.
I'll show you how to get rid of this. So here is the dossier feature and read only. So you just need to change this to true. So this becomes read only. So this is gone. The context menu is gone. And also based on your design, so it looks like you have a small real estate and probably I think fixed size works better for you. We can try. So in order to do that, you can actually change this to be a fixed size. I'm going to try So right now, it's not using that size because we have a responsive, right now we're using the responsive design. So if you want to use fixed size, you can change this to false, enable responsive to false. We also have a code block for you. So if you don't know where to change, you can also go to the property and dossier layout. So now let's see if that's the size I want. So now it's renders and it's a smaller size. Okay, before we embed this, I want to clean up the code a little bit. So we have some code we actually don't need. So here I'm going to clean up a little bit. We have a, so since we are using the guest authentication, so we don't need this and we don't need this. We don't dock the filter. We do have a feature support docking the filter and the comments. But for this demo, we don't need this and we do need this. I'm going to clean up a little bit to reduce the size of the code. So we do not need this. Filter section, you can. So if you want to show the filter summary, and you can use this, but we don't have a filter on this dossier. So I'm going to delete this. And also, if you want, when you create a dossier, if you want to set some filter, you can use this property. Right now, we don't have. We do have a lot of examples to show you this. So you can take a look. Okay, I'm going to clean up the code a little bit and make it tight. All right. All right, so I also don't need this anymore because I already figured out the information for me. So let's see, run it. All right, still works. Okay, so now we're down to probably 20 lines of JavaScript code. So to do, okay, next I want to show you how to integrate with your application. So I got this application and in the Visual Studio Code. So here, first I'm going to add this code into your page. So this is your page. Here, I'm going to go to the index.html and find the section here. I'm going to paste the code here.
So that's the entire embedding library that comes
So
with.
this will include, yes, the library from my demo environment.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't need to copy. Yeah, don't need to copy the JavaScript into your application. Just use it directly from the library you are embedding. The second, what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy this placeholder and put it in your HTML code. So it looks like you want to replace this $sign and probably I will search for Wilmore. Let's see. I'm going to go to the code editor and search for, Wilmore. Okay, let's see. So here, you don't need this button, right? So I'm going to delete this button and I'm going to remove this $sign image and copy the placeholder. So, okay, so this code is in. Next, we also need to copy the JavaScript. So I'm just going to copy the whole JavaScript code here and find a place to insert. So you have a JavaScript file here, script.js. Okay, so looks like this is a place, right? You want to insert. This is the code running after the DOM document is loaded. So I'm going to paste the code here and save it and go to the website. Okay, and refresh the see. Finger crossed. Ta-da, it's working. Is this what you want?
Yeah, think about all my happy drivers that are going to get the most profitable routes. So what we've seen right now is actually, you are an artist. So you cleaned up you made a lot of extra steps to make sure that everything was as clean as possible. But in reality, just as is, the content generated with MicroStrategy was good enough to have this embedding experience happen. So it's very insightful. And Harry, as a heads up, we have a gazillion questions on the chat and a very few minutes left. So what we might want to do now is to point out, within the Embedding SDK where everyone could find all the built-in examples so they can like discover them on their own. And perhaps do a quick wrap-up summary before we switch to the questions.
Okay, so let's do a quick poll. So we will do the rest of session based on the result of the poll.
I published the poll already and I'm awaiting results. I think it'll take 30 seconds for me to view the results.
Thank you. So we want to know what embedding analytics features you are mostly interested. Are you mostly interested in rebranding and applying filters, answer prompts, or performance, or embedding single visualizations, multiple visualizations, single sign-on, or any other features? And you can do multi-select.
I'm going to select them all. Yeah, there's a feature-heavy roadmap here. There's actually a session looking at the roadmap that you might be interested in. I believe it's tomorrow.
We only have 6 minutes left.
All right, how are we doing the poll, Priya?
Give me a couple more seconds. I think it's okay. I have the results. Oh, it's an interesting mix. I have 13% for rebranding, 16% for applying filters from outside the dossier, 13% answering prompts from outside the dossier, 9% performance, 19% embedding visualizations, and 31% single sign-on. Perfect.
That's like what we were saying, passing context from the app to the actual embedded context. So there's no like specific extra MicroStrategy step to be done. So very aligned with, I think, what the team is working on.
So for single sign-on, we have a lot of people answer single sign-on. For single sign-on, we do have a live, we don't have a recording. We don't have a video. We do have a video. If you go to the playground, you can find the videos and also examples. We do have examples on the GitHub repository. And for filtering, we have a lot of examples for filtering. If you go to examples, you see we have a lot of examples for filtering. We have 7 examples for filtering and just to open one to show you. So you can. So once this is loaded, the filter, you can see the code here and how to implement this. This will be automatically populated with the filter from this embedded dossier. So we're listening to the page load and the page switch event, and we automatically update this UI. And also when you make selections, right, you can call the Embedding SDK API to send a selection to the embedded dossier. So that's the filter example. We have tons of examples for filtering. I saw a lot of people answered prompts. We are working on some prompt examples. We'll keep adding examples to the playground. So yeah, go to the playground and look for a prompt example in the future. So we are working on prompt examples. And right now, there's no prompt example. Basically, the idea for prompt is you will use REST API. You create a dossier instance and use REST API, and you call the prompt API to answer prompts. And you can pass the dossier instance ID into the embedding SDK. So that's the idea for prompt. Yeah.
Ari, do you want to switch to the quick summary? So we have a few minutes of questions.
Absolutely. Let me do a quick summary. So in this session, right, we show you how easy it is to use Embedding SDK Playground to implement Embedding SDK, Embedded Analytics solutions. Embedding SDK basically is the web-based tool to help you to understand and build embedding analytics solutions. I saw a question early in the morning session. People ask how to download. You don't need to download. It's available to everyone, and there's no license. It's free to everyone to use. It's hosted on GitHub, and you can get a Playground right at playground.microstrategy.com, And there's a tons of examples you can look into, and also go to the user manual to figure out. And one thing I want to mention is if you want to implement your own solutions, if you want to use your own dossier, you need to make sure you allow embedding first. So you can see the instructions in the Playground user manual. Just find a link in the Playground interface at the bottom. We love to hear your feedback. You can send us feedback on GitHub. Also directly email us at developer@microstrategy.com. And yeah, thank you, Priya. Back to you, Priya.
Actually, Priya, I'm happy to browse. I'm looking at the questions right now and pick randomly a couple of those to at least have a few questions, because we have only a few minutes, right?
We can extend a few more minutes. So if you want to tackle the questions, please feel free.
All right, great. So looking at the question from Aurelio, in the demo, was it passing the authentication?
In the demo, we are using the guest authentication. So we're not passing any session. The guest authentication is automatically handled by Embedding SDK. However, if you want to use other authentication mode, we do support you passing the auth token. So right now, there's no built-in authentication mode in Embedding SDK. You use REST API, call REST API to get an auth token, either auth token or identity token. We do support auth token and identity token.
When I embed a dossier, that's a question from Ukiwe. How do I ensure that the users only see the data relevant to them with respect to their privileges on MicroStrategy? Well, that's the key part of it. It's like you want every single person who accesses MicroStrategy content, even when embedded, that uses our security layer, meaning that credentials are passed one way or another. Here we were looking at a guest example for simplicity, but in reality, in production, you do have an authentication phase where you do get a token back that guarantee that the person looking at the analytics only sees what they're allowed to see. And there was a question around licensing. How do we enable this kind of guest experience? So it depends in what spaces you work in. What we do specifically when we work with software companies is to be extremely creative when it comes to our pricing model. Every use case is different. And so sometimes the information needs to be made available in a public way. And so there are always ways that we can make something work from a licensing perspective. So just reach out to your MicroStrategy team and they'll figure out something creative. Let's take another random question. Do we still have time, Priya?
Yes, we do.
All right. I'm absolutely doing it randomly by frantically like scrolling through the questions.
I have it sit down. Would it help, Antoine?
I have one right now. This is from Aurelio. Is this only available on 2021 and will this need a separate license? I assume you're speaking about the Playground itself. So I can respond for the license. I mean, it's what Harry said. It's completely free. Now, Harry, is it available only on 2021?
It doesn't have a tight relationship to the with the embedding MicroStrategy platform license, right? MicroStrategy platform version you can use against the old version, and some of the operation manual may not work, but because if the operation manual is a new feature in Embedding SDK, the code may not work. Right? But the Playground itself, to run the Playground itself, we do not depend on MicroStrategy like platform. So when you run the program, it will run the SDK at the runtime.
Yeah, some of the drag and drops will not like just generate anything. Maybe like some errors.
Drag and drop will work. It will generate code. The code may not work depending on the which.
That's exactly what I meant. Is that the capability may not be part of your existing MicroStrategy version. The Playground itself is designed to display the most recent capabilities that the Embedding SDK provide.
Exactly.
I have an interesting question from Michael. The Embedding SDK Playground, how is the integration with on-prem based environments? I guess, let's see if I understand the question correctly. Like, how could you leverage this, this helper with someone who would have a deployment on-prem? I think the idea here is like how do you access it? Is it like in some kind of like secured lab that has no access to the internet? In that case, yeah, you have a challenge because the embedding SDK lives, where Harry's team deployed it on GitHub. Now, in reality, what it's aimed to do is more to help you in the dev phase. So I am assuming that your dev environment may have some kind of internet access. So we'll be able to take advantage of the embedding playground. And when it's time for you to push this to prod, maybe you have a bunch of different customers all in dedicated on-prem environment. This is going to be deployed through, a MicroStrategy CI/CD pipeline. So you won't need any kind of live access to the playground anymore. It's really tailored to this ideation phase and development phase that happens in dev. So hopefully that responded to the question. Plenty of great feedback, Harry, on the playground itself and on the demo itself.
I like it. Thank you, guys. Yeah. I saw the question about the SAML authentication. We do have an example, and in the another GitHub repository, and go to the github.com/MicroStrategy, find embedding SDK samples. You'll find some examples here and there. Yeah.
Interesting question from Aurelio. Can you embed the document? So I'm assuming you're referring to the report services document powered by MicroStrategy Web instead of dossier. This one is interesting because library has a very smart behavior there. Do you want to take this one, Harry?
Yes, you can. So actually, MicroStrategy library supports document as well. So if you run the MicroStrategy, if you use the document ID, the library server will automatically convert that into a dossier. So you can use a document ID as well. Yeah, so we do support a dossier, a document.
So it's a very elegant solution. It's basically an on-the-fly, should I say, conversion happening behind the scene that allows you to take advantage of most of the capabilities.
Yeah, so one thing I didn't mention is you can also embed the dossier in all-stream mode. So that's a new feature in 11 in update 4. Right, so you can also embed a dossier in all-stream mode if you want to. You can always do have examples to switch between all-stream mode and consuming mode.
I have a great spot-on question from Doug. Is the embedding SDK using the new REST API? Does library need to be deployed then? And the answer is yes, a big yes. Like it's the entire framework is powering this embedding API. The library part of our solution is supporting our REST API layer, and a bunch of those API calls are wrapped into the JavaScript library that is made available that supports the embedding experience. So if you haven't experienced it yet, it's now more than ever time to deploy MicroStrategy library and start using it. And I'm looking through the question. I think we are good. We are lucky to have a couple of product managers on the chat as well. So I see a lot of questions were already answered.
I like to read out the Pune's comment. It's amazing stuff. We had a manual write the whole code earlier to do. What is just done here in a few minutes using Playground? This is a fantastic and game changer. Thank you, Pune.
Your comment is going to be framed in Harry's office.
I'm going to frame this. Yeah, put it in my office.
Yeah, I've been monitoring the session since the beginning. So you have great feedback, Harry and Antoine. Definitely great stuff. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.